Okay, Excellency, you are welcome to my television show.
Thank you very much.
I think this is very precious time to talk about the success story of Nepalese people, especially in this ceremony. How do you remember the achievement of Nepalese people? Who studied in Australia and how they are doing. What is your formal opinion on behalf of Australian Embassy, Excellency?
Yeah, I think it's very important to acknowledge people that have made the commitment to go to a foreign country like Australia and have come back to offer their services to their country. It's very important that those skills be utilised by the country, and it's very important that those people be recognised for that commitment they've made to come back.
Exactly. Okay, I think that's good news. And if you see the present scenario, hundreds of students are going to Australia for the education, and Australia has lots of possibilities, opportunities as well. Especially in this situation, Excellency, how do you see Australia as a study destination for the Nepalese people?
Certainly Australia is growing in its reputation among Nepalese students. I think the latest figures that I saw suggested there's something like, the exact figure is 12,084 Nepalese student visa holders in Australia as of September last year. Okay. So that's 12,000.
This is the total number?
That's the total number, 12,000 in the country at the time.
Okay.
That's a small proportion of the overall international student cadre that's in Australia, but nonetheless it's a group that's growing in numbers.
Yes.
And it's growing in numbers, I think, because of things like word of mouth and the fact that people recognise that Australian institutions are as good as you'll find anywhere in the world. I think people are also attracted to the lifestyle in Australia and the fact that it is a very multicultural society.
Exactly.
And a society that is quite welcoming to visitors.
So that is the advantage for the Nepalese students as well.
I think it's the advantage, but clearly you take up these opportunities for study in order to get a better career path, to get professional standing. And I think Australian degrees and Australian graduate awards, Australian degrees, Australian qualifications are basically recognised throughout the world. They're certainly recognised here in Nepal, and I think people go out of their way to see if they can gain some of that reputation along with their degree. It also brings with it, of course, the networking options.
Exactly.
It brings Nepal and Australian institutions closer together. And as people's lives and careers progress, those opportunities can only grow.
Excellency, other developed countries, for an instance, UK, United States, they are also selling their best part of their education, So Nepalese students are attracted to go, in that countries as well. So what is the difference, the education which is provided by United Kingdom, Australia, and the United States, then how, what is the specific features of Australian education which is sellable here in Nepal and other parts of the Asian countries, even in India as well?
Well, as I say, I think we are a very multicultural society. That's an attraction. I think the large and growing number of Nepalese who have decided to live in Australia is also an attraction because people think others have gone before them. And they know that there are communities there that they can talk to, either friends or relations of friends, but there are connections that can be made in our capital cities between the Nepali communities. Now the same can be said in the US, no doubt, the same can be said in the UK, in Canada, wherever else you care to mention. As an Australian, I think Australia is a great product.
Yes.
If I was the US ambassador, I'm sure I'd say much the same about the United States.
Definitely.
But the beauty is in the eye of the beholder. If people decide to go with Australia and are happy with that choice and will recommend to others about that choice, who am I to quibble? I mean, it's a demonstration that Australia is, in fact, a very attractive and rewarding place to do one's higher education.
Do you have any kind of that strategy, or you want to support to Nepalese government to uplift or to develop education sector here in Nepal as well, instead of encouraging them to go to Australia?
Well, bear in mind here that we're talking about higher education or tertiary education, if you prefer, rather than education as a whole. Australia's development assistance program our partnership with Nepal includes
Yes.
two main themes.
Mhm.
One is health and the other is education.
Okay.
So that means helping education in the broad terms, not necessarily tertiary education, but certainly education for school kids and others, even vocational training. So if people decide to go to Australia and spend money to do so, we are offering a product.
Exactly.
We are offering a product and a service that we consider is great value for money. The
Yes.
money that is normally paid for is clearly coming from mostly private sector people. It's their choice on how they spend their money. If they
Yes.
see the future for their children are in Australia, or at least in Australian study, let them take that choice. Nepal has very many large number of good universities, and those universities are having more and more partnerships with Australian institutions. In fact, in the last 8 months that I've been here, I've had a couple of universities from Australia say, we are working on strategic partnerships with Nepal
That's great. That's what I want to draw your attention.
and once those partnerships come off, you'll find that you can do an Australian degree
Here in
here in
Nepal,
Nepal.
locally,
locally.
in a local cost, right?
So you don't have the cost of the airfare, of the living allowance,
Exactly.
and all that
That's
sort of
what,
stuff.
you know, it is done by, like, you know, UK universities and other universities from other parts of the world as well. Okay, that's what you were going.
Well, this is what people are working on, and I hope that that comes to fruition sooner rather than later. Perhaps Australia has come into this game a little later than others, but that doesn't mean we won't be finishing up with the leaders.
Okay. Finally, Excellency, do you have any message to our viewers, especially in this particular time?
Messages, it's a brand new year, 2014.
Yes.
We're now had the election passed.
Yes.
We're now about to have, as we speak, the Constituent Assembly sit probably in 2 or 3 days. I think it's time for the media and also Nepal's citizens to sit up and require their politicians to do why they were put there by the voters' ballot. The ballot was clear, it was transparent, it was successful, and now it's up to the political leaders to make the most they can out of that mandate. And I think this is what Nepalis, both here in Nepal and back in Australia, need to keep an eye on.
Thank you so much, Excellency.
Not at
Thank
all.
you so much.
Thank you.